At Chris Kehler Holistic, we demonstrate real healing and real caring to your health issues and needs. Our solution for you is an alternative to the alternative. Our out-of-the-box treatment methods are aimed to your specific well-being and are quite different than most. Venturing down the realm of quantum energy healing, Chris uses unique modalities of healing, such as spiritual intervention with pendulum dowsing, sacred geometry tools such as the neutralization, divinity, and sun ring. Another tool Chris uses is a 5-tiered pyramid affectionately known as the Silver Light Pyramid to activate quantum activity within the body. Also, Chris Kehler Holistic uses radionic technologies in various platforms with specific liquid mineral ionics to balance out excesses and deficiencies within the body. At Chris Kehler Holistic, our goal is to get tangible and measurable results in the least amount of time possible so you can carry on with what's important in your life. Another advantage to this unique energy healing is that it can be done at a distance healing session. So location is not a barrier and can be done conveniently at your home, office, just about anywhere through Skype or telephone conferencing. Eliminate costly protocols, expensive monthly supplements, high-priced allopathic operations, invasive surgeries, and dubious medication applications that keep you trapped in a financial and health rat race. Get a specific, customized, out-of-the-box solution tailored for your health recovery. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we are warm welcoming and want to put you at ease with your visit to us. Please visit www.chriskehler.net for further information as we welcome your questions and inquiries to starting this unique journey. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we want to show you that we are the alternative to the alternative and the out-of-the-box solution to customize an answer for you to spend less and gain more in your high vibrancy journey. Visit www.chriskehler.net. Real healing and real caring to your health needs.
I would like to introduce to you tonight to his show, Mr. Chris Kehler.
I am your host, Chris Kehler, calling from chilly Winnipeg, Manitoba today.
Chilly?
Now, before we begin the show, I've got some disclosure to talk about.
Well, did you see the thing all over the news about the alien rock?
It
was a meteor, cigar shaped and everything else. They were calling it an alien.
Let's all get on that bandwagon.
Yeah, sure, right, yeah. Absolutely.
Some serious stuff, though, on my end. Well, tonight we do have a guest. We're going to bring on Michael Schwartz in a few minutes. Now, of course, with the work I do take my work very serious. That is one thing for sure. One thing I've been combing the internet for is something about a dome around the planet. Now, what that did is it led me to something called a firmament. Now, I'm not a big Bible thumper, but there is something in Genesis that talks about God put a firmament around the earth to separate the waters from above from the waters from below. So, of course, I thought, if there's a firmament around the planet, a dome or a firmament, the word dome can be used very loosely. Okay, what is the dome? The dome is this firmament. So why do we have a firmament within our bodies? So, and of course, I've been finding them like crazy around all our different energy bodies. It acts kind of like, let's say, a barrier or a protection or something of that nature. So I find a lot of people with a rupture within their firmament, let's say around their source, or maybe a rupture within the firmament around their plasma field or something to that nature. So by repairing it, it puts things back into order. So we've been working a lot with that lately, researching that, but also still lots and lots of confirmations about reptilian DNA within our bodies. And I am finding in some cases there is certain cell mutations happening, particularly within the lungs, maybe within the eyes or certain areas from a lot of atomic fallout from other countries. Okay, the wind is blowing the atomic fallout, the radiation around, and it is affecting us and causing some mutation of cells. And this is cause for possibilities of reptilian cell mutation getting into the mix. So transmuting those back and forth from reptilian DNA and stem cells to human DNA and stem cells is showing a lot of promise. So we've been working a lot down that area, and there is a lot more other stuff, but right now it's all in the trial and error stage. But those are the things that seem to be very, very upfront and value within working with health problems. So that has been my last couple of weeks. We've been having lots of fun with that. Let's move on to the show. A little bit about our guest tonight. His name is Michael Schwartz. He is an author, lecturer, holistic nutritional consultant, and the host of his own show called Spiritual Naturopathy, which can be heard Mondays at 2 p.m. Central on Unity Online Radio. He was educated in the workings of the mind as it relates to the creation of one's own personal physical reality. One of his books he has written is called The 7 Causes of Cancer. He entered the health food industry in 1975, and in the ensuing years, he discovered his talent for herbal and nutritional healing. This led him to establish a naturopathic practice, and after many years of assisting clients to regain their health on multiple levels such as physical, material, social, spiritual, and emotional, his supplement company was formed in 1984. Michael Schwartz is available for personal appearances and private consultations. For more info, please visit www.innerhealthbooks.com. Please welcome to A Quantum View. This is Michael Schwartz.
Thank you, Chris. It's an honor to be a guest. How you doing?
Well, it's certainly an honor to have you on, my friend. Now, we're going to talk today about the emotional causes of cancer. Now, I'm surprised you're not dead yet, because any naturopath who's talking about cures for cancer is winding up on a slab somewhere.
Well, that's because I'm not offering a cure. I'm offering an understanding. There's a difference.
Well, there certainly is. That's for sure. Now, this is something that is right up my alley, because the work I do spiritually and energetically does revolve somewhat around an emotional factor in the mix of basically all diseases and illnesses can be contributed to emotional. How does your work measure up with Louise Hay? Have you researched Louise Hay at all? Have you read her books or any of her practices at all?
Believe it or not, I have not. I was in a bookstore and I saw her name in a book, I think How to Get Well or something like that. You Can Heal Yourself. And I opened it up and no, I haven't read her.
Either have I, but I've heard about her work, and she's on the belief that all disease and illness is caused by an emotion, and she's partly right. Joel Wallach says all disease is caused by a mineral deficiency. He's partly right, and so on and so on. Now, when you work with emotional stressors, what exactly do you mean?
That's really a good question. I guess anytime that you're coming out of your equilibrium, you're responding emotionally, either with joy or with sadness, with love or with anger or hate. So the hard part is going through life without responding emotionally, because it is the emotions that create all diseases. And it's not that the emotions do it. Let me rephrase that. It's a lack of understanding about self, and what a disease is an opportunity for you to understand where you are in your evolutionary journey. Because if you have a disease or a condition, then obviously there's an emotional issue at work. And wherever the disease or condition affects the body is a direct indication as to what particular concepts are in conflict. You said something about one of the doctors or one of the authors saying that a mineral deficiency is part of the problem. What people don't understand, Chris, and I know you know this, but and hopefully I'm sure you've shared it with your people, the mind runs the body. Mm-hmm. And that's what people seem to forget.
The subconscious mind, that's the background voice that tells your body, kind of nags your body. You need to deal with this, you need to deal with this. And then disease and illness is created because it needs to get your attention in a way.
Absolutely. Because your mind, there's a passage in Matthew. I heard you say earlier you're not a Bible thumper, but I am to some degree. And there's a thing in Matthew that states, make for the straight gate, narrows the path that leads to life, and few are they who find it. And what Jesus always taught was that the kingdom is within. So the answer to life on a lot of levels is actually looking within yourself to understand what those subconscious concepts are, because the truth of the matter is they are more powerful than your conscious decision-making processes.
So how does the subconscious mind work? I mean, you've got this emotion, you got this thought, you got this hamster wheel going on in the subconscious. Explain to everybody exactly what you mean by subconscious.
Well, these are the thoughts that are the foundation of your belief system. These are the thoughts that motivate you into action and reactions. And they're all based on the concepts that you maintain in your subconscious mind about who you think you are supposed to be. Now, that does not necessarily mean that's who you want to be. There's a difference there. And oftentimes, we end up following the family tradition, the family path, and we end up with the family diseases because the concepts are being passed on. You go back to Genesis or Exodus, and it says the sins and inequities of the father are passed on to the son for 3 to 4 generations. So it is the concepts, monkey see, monkey do. We learn from our parents by attitude and by example. And so that's also one of the foundations for diseases, and it is from our parents is that where the subconscious concepts that we maintain are taught to us.
You know that your father had heart disease, heart conditions because of this and that. So now that's going to be running in your subconscious that, oh, geez, well, I'm probably going to carry that too. So then you end up picking it up and learning about it, not realizing maybe I should deal with this. Maybe I should find out exactly why this is there so that we can stop this hamster wheel from going.
Absolutely. And using that example, for me, anytime there's a cardiovascular event, it is especially a heart attack, it's because there's an emotional conflict brewing. So the dad that had that heart attack obviously is he's under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. And there may even be a lot of anger as well, because there's a lot of emotions that are not being vented properly and not being expressed. And so the child, the son growing up and seeing this is how dad is. Now, let me back up, because there are 2 methods in which a child will seek to manifest its reality. Okay? We know that we are spiritual beings in a material world. And so every child that comes into the material plane wants to, because we know this place is crazy, we all want to go back to the spiritual dimension. Well, Freud said every child wants to have sex with its mother. No, he was wrong. Please, really. And what really happens is that every child wants to get back to the peace and tranquility. Excuse me, you may have the cold up there, but I've got a cold down here. At any rate, every child wants to get back to the peace and tranquility. So every child will choose one of 2 methods of acceptance, because we don't want to be cut off from the doorway home. Mm-hmm. And those 2 acceptance methodologies are either I'm going to be goody two-shoes, in which case all the boys will be like dad, all the girls will be like mom, or we're going to be hell on wheels, in which case the girls are the opposite of mom and the boys are the opposite of dad. Just to get that, because the example I used was a child, a boy, or the one we both used is that the boy is like his dad, therefore he's going to end up with the same kind of cancer that his father had.
Right. people who practice a lot of spiritual different modalities, there's the emotion code. There's all these different types of modalities that pertain to emotions. Within my work, the True Quantum Healing, within my charts, I've got 12 different pages of different emotional possibilities. I'm looking at it right now, and there's contentment, there's a cheerful, calm, bothered, bold, all these different emotions. And lots of people like to come up with the emotion, oh, you have a fear of moving forward. You have, that's a very popular one. It's like everybody's got that. One of the biggest ones that I find is the emotion of jealousy. Jealousy can contain a lot of different sub-emotions. Jealousy can pertain to the ego. Jealousy can pertain to the subconscious, a lot of different things. So jealousy for me is something that's almost like a go-to emotion instead of fear of moving forward.
Well, let's take a look at jealousy from that point of view. And, why would one person be jealous of what somebody else either has in terms of material possessions, a spiritual gift, or a talent of some sort? When anybody is jealous, what comes to mind for me is that they're really feeling doubt about their own ability, and they're really falling into a degree of resentment. And when, one of the things about cancer in my book is I talk about the 4 fundamental emotions that cause cancer, and one of them is resentment. Mm-hmm. So the question really comes up, why do you resent whatever it is that you're jealous of? And what is the concept behind that? Is there a feeling that you're inadequate? And all of us deal with that to some degree in some arena of our lives. And then the other side of the coin is that we're fabulous in other arenas. Go figure, right? So it's just a matter of really understanding where you're coming from. And the understanding is achievable. One of the things that Jesus taught was to have eyes to see and ears to hear. And in the work that I do, I'm often asked about my credentials, because being in the naturopathic healing modality mode, and that's what my company is, Michael's Naturopathic Programs. So people ask me about my authority. And my answer is, on one level, I have no man-made authority. And the reality is, you don't need man-made authority if you know what you're doing. That's number one. Number two, if anyone was to ask me what kind of a title I do have, I would consider myself to be a symbologist, meaning that I have been taught, and this is my responsibility and my calling at this point in life, I have been taught to have eyes to see, ears to hear, so that I look at every occurrence as an energetic exchange. And if my mind is drawing my attention to it, it's because my mind wants me to understand it.
When you're working with people, how exact would a session go with you to try and help somebody understand these emotional components?
Well, I guess it depends on, since we're talking about cancer, let's go there. Somebody comes to me with cancer, my first kind of questions to them are, what stage are you at? What does the doctor say? Because I am not legally, nor am I willing to make any diagnosis. I mean, there are certain things I see immediately, certain things I understand by questions, and I know what to do and where to go. However, so I want to find out where they're at. The next thing I want to know is, where is the cancer? What part of the body? Because that will also help me understand where their conflict is. Then from there, I might ask them to start homework. And this is something all of your listeners can do right now. And that is on a blank sheet of paper, because here's the 4 causes. Let's go there first. Anger, resentment, frustration, and guilt. Those 4 emotional energies literally eat you up alive, and that's exactly what cancer does. Okay? So now I want to know what part of the body the cancer is manifesting in, because that will give me a clue as to where the conflict is for them internally. Knowing that, then I may pick, let's say that since we got onto resentment, that resentment was the real issue and not anger, even though resentment can lead to anger, just like jealousy can lead to anger. I have them on a blank sheet of paper in the left-hand column write down everything that makes them resentful. Okay? And I don't care how minute or nano or pico size it is. If you resent it, then that's an energy that's working against you. So on the right-hand column, why? Why do you resent that transaction? Why do you resent that person? Why do you resent them having this and you not having that? So by understanding the cause and the foundation of their resentments, that begins to give them a handle on understanding, and the understanding is part of the cure. Actually, if there is a cure, it would be an understanding, because as you know, Chris, we're just energetic beings. Mm-hmm. And wherever there's a disharmony, it's because our energy, our vibe, our understanding is not in flow. And so the goal with eyes to see, ears to hear is understanding in order to get our vibration back into the flow of what I call the God force.
I got a brother-in-law or an ex-brother-in-law who's one of the biggest cancer researchers in San Diego. And him and I have some conversations sometimes. I've asked him the question, what about things like emotion? He just scoffed. He's like, you got to be kidding me. You can't really think that negative thinking is going to cause all your cells to mutate and make tumors and eat your body alive. There's definitely something more to that. It's all about different things. I just looked at him and says, you know what? You have to have eyes to see and ears to hear.
Fabulous. I love it.
Yeah.
But, here's a comeback for him and anybody like that. Yeah, you're right. Okay. The cells mutated because of a chemical imbalance in the body. But what created that chemical imbalance?
Sure. Look at all the endocrine system, the hormonal system is basically an emotional system. Because different hormones and chemicals are released at different times of how we think, feel, and perceive things within our body.
Absolutely. And the master gland is the adrenal gland.
Okay.
Because the adrenal gland, that's the old, fight or flight gland, okay? So one of the things that happens from a nutritional point of view, a physiological, is that when the body is under enormous amounts of stress, the adrenals become taxed. They begin to falter. As they are crashing, blood pressure goes up, the immune system goes down, and your ability to regulate sugar in the bloodstream is out the window. Because one of the roles of the adrenal glands is that when your sugar gets too low, the 2:30, 3 o'clock afternoon bit,
right.
That's when your adrenal gland is supposed to tell your liver to release glycogen back into your bloodstream so the cells have fuel. Catch-22 is most companies, even in their multiple vitamins, do not address the adrenal glands specifically. They think that a blanket thing is going to work for everybody, and no, it doesn't. So because at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the adrenal gland is exhausted. It's developed laryngitis. It can't talk to the liver. So you got people crashing at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, running for the Snickers bar, which, by the way, I thought was a brilliant commercial. And whoever wrote it certainly understood hypoglycemia.
You help people to understand this emotional concept that's going on. You get them to make a couple columns. So now what's the next step after that?
Well, the next step after that is then beginning to develop eyes to see, which is really the key. Here's the way life works. And in fact, if you go to Ecclesiastic 3:15, it's laid out right there. And it says, that which is now hath been, that which will be is now. That is a pattern of behavior. And as you well know, as creatures, we develop patterns of behavior for everything that we do. Now, what does that mean in English from a different point of view? Every pattern of behavior that a human being has is designed with one goal in mind, and that goal is to validate the concept that created it as being true, even when that concept works against you. And here's an example. He's sloppy. He's messy. He doesn't get his work done. He's lazy. Well, you want to see programming of the biocomputer called the brain, go follow a mom around in the supermarket and you'll hear stuff like that talking to the kid, or the kid's messy, or don't touch this and don't touch that and sit still. These are all programming issues that a child, as we grow up, those things are still at work within us. So it's very hard for an individual, which goes back to the teaching about, and everything I'm about is universal teachings, but it goes back to the teaching of make for the straight gate and narrow is the path, because it is so hard for us to be honest with ourselves. It's even harder for us to go within for the answers that we seek. We have been so conditioned to look outside of ourselves that it's sad.
The concept of the emotion is something that, first of all, we need to admit to and then say, yes, it's a problem.
Yes. And that's the hard part. You know, I'm seeing there's a question here from a girl, Karen, and emotions associated with prostate cancer. Well, take a look at what the prostate gland is involved in. It's part of the reproductive system. So a man with prostate cancer, there's issues about his ability to express himself. Now, you can take that and apply it to the arts, the personal relationship, work. There's all kinds of different ways that a guy could be hindered from expressing himself. So that would be about prostate cancer. Bone cancer, like leukemia, any kind of bone cancer, is because what do your bones do? And bone marrow is in this case particular. But, well, first off, your bone marrow produces your antibodies. They make your B cells, your T cells. And so that's your defenses. So anybody with leukemia, bone marrow cancers, we got to find out, are they guilty about being alive, or are they guilty for everything they have? Because the bottom line is with those diseases, they can't protect themselves. They don't feel that they have the wherewithal to protect themselves. And take a look at the bones. What do the bones do? What does your skeleton do? It holds you up. It gives you support. So if there's cancer there, then there's something going on with the support system that individual does not feel that they, one, have the support, two, that they can defend themselves from the onslaught of whatever it is that they're involved in.
So once somebody can have that little aha moment with, why do I have cancer here or there? What are these emotions doing to me? Once they've had that aha moment, and now their subconscious says, I think I understand what's going on here. And the subconscious can kick in and say, okay, what do we got to do now in order to kick this disease?
Well, some of the things that will occur immediately, because there is an awareness, an elevation in consciousness, the individual will begin to alter their diet. They will begin to alter their relationships. They will begin to alter what they expose themselves to in terms of intellectual pursuits, in terms of everything, actually, because the more aware you become and you begin to develop eyes to see, let's go back to that patterns of behavior, because this too is instrumental in facilitating the cure, in the sense that because we are patterns of behavior and because we set ourselves up in order to manifest the pattern and get the result to validate the concept. So your mind is always talking to you through the language of dreams, accidents, losing things. And there's no such thing as an accident, by the way. And I know you know that, but your listeners may not. And all of those things are guidance, especially dreams. And yet, here in the Christian community, everybody is programmed, don't pay attention to your dreams, they're the work of the devil. But meanwhile, it is God working through your dreams, talking to you, giving you guidance every single day as to how you can stay on that narrow path that leads to life. So learning to read symbols. Now, going back to Ecclesiastics, that 3:15 deal, that tells you if you can learn to see the symbol of the pattern, that'll tell you where you are in the pattern. Knowing the outcome gives you the opportunity to change the outcome.
So listening to your body, listening to your subconscious is very important. Let me tell you a little story about myself. Now, one of the things that I picked up on within my work is that yeast is a very, very big problem. Yeasts, fungus, and that type of thing.
Amen.
Now, growing up as a young printer, before I got into this work, I was very much a beer drinker. Weekends, some nights I loved my beer. Go with the guys, have a few beers. I'd go out to the camper, have a bunch of beers. I love my beer. All of a sudden, one day I realized I'm not drinking beer anymore. My body just said, time to stop drinking beer, Chris, because yeast is bad for you.
How about that?
I looked back and I said, you know what? And everybody else is like, yeah, Chris, you stopped drinking beer. Are you okay? And I'm like, I guess my body wants me to be okay. I mean, and I still, to this day, now that I realize it, I have no urge to crack a beer.
How cool is that?
Your body really kicks in when it has to, when you realize that something is a problem.
Well, only for the enlightened, because some people, even the enlightened people, ignore it. Oh, it's just a fluke. It's just this or it's just that. But no, if people would learn to listen to their body more and really get into their dreams, there's an enormous amount of guidance. Remember, look, your mind, let's go back to Genesis for a minute. We are created in the image of God. Well, I watch and listening to the flat earth thing. Every morning I'm on YouTube and I'm looking at the new flying saucers. And what's interesting is that there are so many designs. It makes me think that Earth is from either a multidimensional place or from other worlds. Hey, you guys got to take a trip to this planet. It's a little blue thing in the 5th galaxy, and the people there are insane. It's great. Go sit above, listen to the news, watch their thing, and then come back and report, because they're all different styles. So then I have this thing that I believe in maybe not in my lifetime, I'd like to see it in my lifetime, that the aliens will land. And the ship opens up, and this guy walks out. He's got 3 heads, 4 arms, and 6 legs. And he said, "Earthlings, we are created in the image of God. What are we going to do besides kill it? What else are we?" Well, it's the American thing.
Sure.
It's our fear. That's why we hate anything that isn't us. So the question then comes up, what is the image of God? Well, to think that God is a man is a little infantile. So the image is really our spiritual being, our essence.
Sure.
And that's really the clothing that we wear, the emotional self. That's the self that has to be understood and literally nullified and gain control over, because that is the self that impedes our manifesting our spiritual gifts and being more in harmony with the creative continuum.
Our environment, let's see, our work surroundings, online environments, what is that doing with our emotions? As you said, we all sit and look at YouTube. I mean, I certainly do a lot. We all watch the news. We all listen to this and listen to that and watch this and read that. What is our environment doing emotionally to us?
Oh, it's stimulating all kinds of emotions. Oh, my God. I remember when Asian flu was going around and people would say to me, "Michael, what's the best thing to do for Asian flu?" And I say, turn off the damn TV.
Yeah.
Okay. We are being manipulated. We are being stimulated. We are being led in the direction that they want us to go. So there's no telling what, here as an example, you may see a lovely family. It's the holiday season. So here's all the families sitting around exchanging gifts, and everybody's got smiles and warms and hugs and love. And what about these people who are alone? And they see this. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't ache. Of course it does. So there are certain images in TV and there's certain things on the radio. All are designed to manipulate us, to stimulate action and reaction. So there's a question, Chris, I see from Jenny about how do we get on the mend if our emotions are causing cancer? The first thing is discovering which emotion it is that's out of control, and then using the sheet of paper as a guide to try to understand the concepts behind it. And this goes back to something else you asked earlier, Chris, because once you understand the concepts behind it, then the next step is identifying the patterns of behavior associated with that concept. And then the step after that is beginning to develop a symbol dictionary that tells you when that pattern of behavior has been triggered.
Okay. Can this go back into past lives, into different concepts of us?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we're supposed to. I think that's too much.
No. Everybody blames a past life. For
yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I was a prince. I was a princess. I was a tiger. I was a lily pond. No, the reality is there's only now. And now you are at the pinnacle of your power, whatever it is, whatever that pinnacle is. Some pinnacles are really high, some are really low. That's immaterial. The bottom line is that this is where you are at the moment. This is the opportunity that you have for mastery. Nothing in the past. Well, let me rephrase that. I was going to say nothing in the past matters, but that's not true. The universal teaching is we look back in order to see ahead. Remember Ecclesiastics, that which was is. So and this is how the mind works. Whenever you're in a new situation, quote unquote, new, your mind looks back because it's sensing the energy. Okay? Even though the appearance is different, the energy is the same. It's part of a concept at work. And so your mind looks back to the past to see how you handled it in the past, and that is the action that you're going to draw on for the current situation. And that is how the mind works.
So we understand that the emotional component of all this. Now, of course, there's a physical component that's got to be dealt with.
Yep. Well, this is where changing the diet, exercising, excuse me, especially with cancer. Cancer does not like an oxygen-rich environment. And look at the symbology involved there. Oxygen is symbolic of God, symbolic of spirit. Why? Because where does God live? In the heavens. What's in the heavens? Air, oxygen, our life. So you have that. And
So ultimately, I mean, there's a lot of people who do cancer treatments. I've heard people who use a certain type of yogurt with a microphage in it that eats cancer. I've heard of people completely alkalizing the body, getting an acidic environment out. So what do you believe is the ultimate way in order to deal with cancers?
Love.
I love it.
Not only, I guess the most important love is self-acceptance, self-love, and then to practice divine love. And divine love is looking at every other human being as your brother and sister. If we strip away the gender, okay, that's one form of identification. Strip that away. Strip away the outer laying, the skin, that organ. Strip it away, and you know what you have left? Twins. We all look alike. There was something else I wanted to say, but I have some-timers, and sometimes I'll remember what I want to say, and sometimes I don't.
Welcome to that club.
I have Post-its all over my computer for that reason.
So coming to terms with that, acceptance of yourself and loving yourself, and then knowing that love is all around you, is that the do-all to end? I mean, so changing your diet, getting a lot more enzymes into your system, certain supplementation, is there anything else that people should be looking out for?
Well, yeah, and I'll go back over it from a different point of view. From a supplementation point of view, you want to get high potency supplements. None of these food-bound, food-grown, food-enhanced. I know they're all the rage, but they will not support your immune system. And your immune system is your first line of defense, period. And that's what all the new drugs are based on, boosting the immune system. Except that once they turn it on, they don't know how to turn it off. That's why it's essential that it be moderated, so to speak. So supplementation is one. Clean water. I'm a distilled water advocate. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Changing the diet to the point to reduce or eliminate whatever you can. And there's another thing there, we'll touch on that. But meat, fish, fowl, nuts, grain, dairy, all create what we call an acid ash in the bloodstream. Mm-hmm. That acidity, well, once your body becomes slightly acidic, even by a 0.1, now your body is open to being invaded by germs, bacteria, viruses, and cancer also thrives in an acidic and oxygen-depleted environment.
I know Karen's going to have something to say about water. Of course, water carries oxygen. Now, why do you say distilled water?
Well, because you can't trust the water in this country, and because, well, what's true is true, and you can't trust the bottled water companies because for them it's all about money. I mean, take a look at Dasani from Coca-Cola, for God's sakes. What is it? It goes through one filter, and that's bottled water. It's tap water. The only So we have distillers. We're firm believers in distillation because man has created so many chemicals that you can't get them out of the water supply. So I don't think anybody should ever drink water out of the tap unless you're on the road, you don't have a choice, then don't make yourself crazy. Go with the flow. Because then that's the secret. You know, I want to go back to something else. I just remembered what it was I wanted to talk about. And that's healing. You know, other things that could be done, Chris, and I'm sure you probably promote this, is visualizations, prayer, affirmations. And in the visualization technique, there was a guy in New York who had a great one. And what he did is he told his patients that the cancer cells were actually white people in a wagon train trying to steal their land, and the Native Americans were, you know, the antibodies, and they had to kill off the cancer, and that was the visualization that he gave them. So by visualizing some sort of thing, I always go with lights. Go in with a white light as a laser surgery, cut out the cancer, then bathe it in red, because red is the color of blood. So not only does it bring nutrients to it, it also takes the garbage away. And then you want to bathe it in green, because green is the color of healing. Now, the parts of healing are faith, belief, and expectation. Now, remember, Jesus always said, your faith has made you whole. If someone says that Chris Kehler is a fabulous practitioner, or Michael's a fabulous practitioner, then anyone who comes to us is already coming with an element of faith working. Okay? Then we give them a program, a script. We give them a protocol. Now they've got belief working, because now we've told them what to do. Now, because the mind is a goal-seeking device, and remember I said the end result of every pattern is to fulfill an expectation to validate the concept. So expectation is a built-in aspect of our mind. So we're goal seekers. Even if the goal is failure, it's still a goal. And so we're goal seekers. So based on faith, belief, the expectation makes it all work.
You're talking my language. You're talking about intent and will and saying the right words in order to create a movement of energies. I have to agree with you 100% there.
Good.
You just can't take a pill and expect a pill to do it all. If you look at the placebo effect, of course, now somebody's taking a pill that's full of wood shavings or sugar or something. When people take that pill and they feel better, they're putting an intent into that pill that it's going to work right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we use our will to manifest our intent. At least some of us do. And, you know, you will to be well, then, you know, you'll take the prescription. Hopefully not. You'll do what I'm doing. Lots of vitamin A and vitamin C. And, you know, you'll never need to go to a medical doctor. I see there's a note here about talking about humor, and I'm trying to remember who the author was, but he wrote a book on healing cancer with humor. Humor is fabulous. However, always be mindful that when it's a joke, that the joke is not about you, and never make yourself a joke, because what you're doing in reality is reinforcing the negative.
Yes.
And if somebody makes a joke about you, it's not a joke, it's an attack. It's really
it can be construed as that way. Can you laugh at yourself?
Don't we? I think we have to. We don't have a choice.
Every day.
Every now and then we realize, oh my God, you know, it's an OMG, WTF. But it is what it is. We're human. Excuse me. We're going through the process of discovery. And it's an important part. This is why it's so essential to crawl within your head. Nobody has, and forgive me, Chris, because, you know, on some levels, neither you nor I have answers for people, because the reality is the answer dwells within them. Mm-hmm. But if we can help them, you know, where to go into and how to look, we've done our job.
Ask and ye shall receive, but ask the right question, and you have to realize what you're receiving is the answer.
Yes, and even
we're always, as humans, we're always questioning the answer. It's like, here's the answer, but But why is that the answer? Is there another answer? Is there another answer? Everybody's looking for the answer that they want, not the answer that they need.
Excellent point. Absolutely. Yeah, because you know what's beautiful about the human mind? We can rationalize and justify any action, transaction, reaction we take. The mind is fabulous.
That all comes down to an emotion of doubt.
Yes. Doubt and fear, reminds me of the movie. I'm a sci-fi freak. So I don't know if you ever saw the movie Dune.
Oh, yeah.
But okay, so remember he had his hand in the Gom Jabbar and he's feeling all this pain and he's visualizing the acid eating away his hand. And the woman from that group of people, the Ben Gesserit or whatever, she says, fear is the mind killer. And it's true, and your mind will give you a symbol. Here's an example of a symbol of fear, and it's mine. When I was about 10 or 12 years old, I was attacked by a black Cocker Spaniel. Now, dogs, and I still have one, dogs are, universally speaking, man's best friend. But if you've been attacked by a dog, that's
not so much.
Not so much. So whenever I have a black Cocker Spaniel in my dream, or if I'm driving down the highway and my mind draws my attention, even for a nanosecond, I saw it, I know that was my mind telling me that fear is at work in my life. So what do? Okay, where am I coming from? Where am I headed? How would fear affect what's going on? Okay, that's how a symbol works. That's how it tells you where in a pattern of behavior you are, and what the pattern is. What that black Cocker Spaniel was telling me was that I was either already in the pattern or beginning to get into the pattern of fear. So then the question is why I ask those questions. And the other question is, okay, well, how does the fear manifest? Am I going to withdraw? Am I going to get sick? Am I going to, screw something up somewhere down the line? What am I going to do? What is the outcome? What is my expectation associated with the fear? Well, so, there. And that gives you the ability to begin to get a handle on changing your life in the truest, most meaningful ways.
Going back to doubt, okay, and doubt is one of the bigger ones. Jealousy is a big one. Doubt is a big one. Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Do I go that job? It's about 55 students that I teach pendulum dowsing and how to healing with that modality. And the biggest question I always get, is this the right answer? Is this the right answer? How do I know it's the right answer? And I says, you're doubting yourself. As soon as you can get out of that system of doubt and trust yourself, trust your answer, trust your decision, all of a sudden you realize how easy things really are, because ultimately the only answer is the right answer. There's no wrong answer when it comes to it, because ultimately if you get answer A and B and you tell A and B to go away and nothing happens, there's nothing wrong. Trust that whatever you're putting forward is okay. There's no right or wrong answer. A buzzer isn't going to ring. You're not going to fall through the floor and land in the ocean. All it's doing is showing you that you need to learn to trust your answers, trust your decisions.
Absolutely, and understand also that, as the students do, that answer is good for the moment. And as their consciousness grows and as their understanding gets deeper, then that answer may lead to yet another answer that's deeper that they can't see now because they're sitting in a valley. They're not at the top of the hill.
Sometimes that answer is going to lead you on a bit of a journey to discern more into that answer. You need to use that answer as a question possibly, or use it to guide you.
Absolutely, because, our lives, it's like getting hair analysis or blood analysis. Excuse me, it's true for the moment. Okay. But in 24 hours, things are going to change because you're going to end up eating something. You're going to end up altering the chemical structure of your bloodstream. So it's the same thing with understanding. It's like, I remember the movie Help, the Beatles. I love the Beatles. Okay. So I went to the movie. I saw the movie Help. And because I have a tendency to see some movies 2, 3, 4 times, especially Star Wars, what can I say? Right. And so you go back the second time, oh, wow, I didn't catch that the first time. And by the third time, you're hearing things you didn't catch the first two times. So the more that you focus, then the deeper you go, the more you see, the more you comprehend. Because whatever answers you get now are just based on your level of understanding. But as you understand more, then more, it's the teaching of use what you have and more will be given. So there's that.
It comes down to the understanding of your health problem, cancer, no matter what it is, why you have that problem. And when you can understand it and stop asking the questions and stop. And here's another one, placing blame. Well, who's responsible for this? Why have I been smited? Why is this going on in my body?
The victim. That's a concept.
Victim. Oh, yes, indeed. There's a whole radio show about that right there.
Oh, God, yeah. It's fascinating, and some people are victims, and they set up victimhood. I mean, they wouldn't be happy. I can remember my counseling days, and I say this about my own products. My products will work 90% of the time for 90% of the people. Why the 10%? Because there are some people who need their ailments. Sad but true.
They define us. Our ailments can define us.
Yeah. Without my sickness, I'd have no conversation.
Well,
who's going to pay attention to me?
I remember working with somebody with cerebral palsy, and I'd go see this person and say, "How you doing?" She goes, "I'm doing fantastic." I goes, "No, you're not. You got cerebral palsy." Oh, that. Oh, yeah. Well, it's just it. Just what it is, and it becomes you.
Yes. And she has a fabulous attitude. I mean, and attitude is everything. When I do my consumer lectures, I say there are 9 fundamental things for excellent health. Everybody knows fats, carbs, proteins. No one ever thinks about air, light, or water. So now we're up to 6. Vitamins, because your body, you said this earlier, works on hormones, enzymes, and proteins. Well, your B vitamins are technically coenzymes because they facilitate the production of all of those enzymes and hormones. And minerals are considered catalysts and cofactors because they allow everything to happen. And number 9 is attitude. That's why I said early on, people will have to change their relationships. Because, look, you said something earlier, and it made me think that, some people will say something to somebody to hold them back out of their own jealousy. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to get ahead of me in life. I mean, my God, you're not as smart as I am. Okay? So you got stuff like that going on with people.
It goes on and on and on about the whole concept of accepting yourself.
Yes.
In this day and age of everything going on around us on social media, somebody puts out a post and it affects you emotionally. Learning that sometimes it's okay to feel some empathy for somebody, but then let it go.
Yes. Don't hold on to it.
I always tell people stay neutral and grounded and try not to let curveballs throw you off balance. Just if a curveball comes in, watch it go by and keep on going.
Chris, that's very much in keeping. I don't know if you're familiar with a piece of work called The Gospel According to Thomas. It was discovered in the 40s in Nag Hammadi in Egypt. And in there is the Gospel According to Thomas is 114 teachings of Jesus when he was alive, not 70 years after he was dead like the New Testament. Mm-hmm. One of the teachings is what you just said. And what Jesus said was, be a passerby. Short, sweet, simple. Be a passerby. That way, you don't get plugged into anybody else's craziness, because look at how many people intervene in a couple fighting, and before you know it, the guy who intervened is dead.
They're in the fight now. Exactly. Yeah.
So.
I mean, if you're going to save somebody's life, save their life. I'm glad you're okay. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
That's it. Don't
become an advocate for people trying to commit suicide. Just do what you got to do and carry on, stay grounded, stay neutral, and all is good. That's about all the time we got for today. Mr. Michael, how can people get a hold of you?
The easiest, my email is michael383@me.com. And if I could plug my show, I would say tune into unity.fm/spiritual naturopathy. Everything I've done is archived. There's shows on every disease and condition, what you need to do and why the nutrients will work for you from a symbolic, energetic point of view.
I think it's something that everybody should take heed in, and the more you learn, the more educated you are, the better that you can deal with this health issue you're going through. That's all the time we got for tonight. This is Chris Kehler. We're going to be back in 2 weeks. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Bob. We are going to have supper now.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Later, guys.
See you guys later. Great show. Thank you.